Good Friday afternoon. Welcome on in. You know it's Friday because Joe Bartosik's here, and that's a good thing. When you see him, you should feel good. Like, oh my God, Joe's here. It's Friday.
The weekend, or coming on to that.
So we're glad to be here with you. We got a good show for you, as always. We got a great producer, Jennifer Summers, who rocks some great positive and fun stories, and also all good news for you. Running for a cause, and a very impressive feat that one worldly man chose to do right here in Alaska.
That should be interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. So you want to stick around for that all good news story coming up in just a little bit.
And we get to see what's in front of the camera. We're going to show you who goes on behind the scenes in today's Weather Lab when the students come here to the Weather Center.
Yeah, we had them. They were in here the other day. It was a lot of fun. So good stuff. But weather, it seems like Mr. Snowmeister.
Yes.
Mr. Snowmeister has been here the last couple of days.
Yes, and it seemed like never-ending nuisance-type snow, and that's going to continue as we head on in through the upcoming weekend.
It's pretty.
It is pretty. Like, back in the snow globe, winter wonderland, whatever you want to call it out there.
Thanks a lot, Joe. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. Here are your top 4 headlines at 4. Staffing shortages in Nome and Bethel could mean there are no attorneys for new cases, according to Samantha Sherritt of the Public Defender Agency. She wrote to the presiding judges in both cities. She says starting on February 13th, the agency will not accept new unclassified and Class A felony cases in Nome and Bethel. She says the caseloads are too high and they don't have enough experienced attorneys to represent people charged with those crimes. And the caseloads for those who have the experience is way too high. A fire in southwest Alaska took out a power plant for a school. The Newtok fire happened last week and left the village without clean water as well. Officials say they're waiting for a generator, but weather has kept flights from making it in. Previous spare generators sent in were not compatible with their system. The principal said the students will learn remotely until a new generator can be brought in and provide power to the school. A vacant building burned down in Savunga last night. It had been where teachers were housed in St. Lawrence Island Village. Locals did what they could to stop the fire and keep it from spreading, according to David Akia, but he says they don't have proper firefighting equipment. A Bering Strait School District official says no one was hurt, and they're assessing smoke damage to other units. The remains of a man missing for nearly 50 years have been identified. Relatives of the New York man said he was dropped off near the Porcupine River close to Canada to go hunting back in the mid-70s. And in 1997, a skull was found in the area. It was then suspected he was the victim of a bear mauling. Last year, cold case investigators did a DNA search and found a match through genetic genealogy and were able to identify the remains of Gary Southerndon. He would have been in his early 70s now if he had lived. His relatives are making arrangements with the medical examiner's office to have his remains returned back to them. All right, unlocking an ancient secret, the formula for mummification, and where the Egyptian embalmers got the ingredients, leaving archaeologists with even more questions. That's up next. Happy Friday, everybody. A recipe for the afterlife. Mummification has fascinated people for centuries. Now, as Ian Lee reports, some ancient secrets are being revealed from under the sands of Egypt.
Yes News.
That stuff's still fascinating to me. All right, ancient Egyptians also believed if the bodies were kept intact through mummification, they would reach the afterlife. There you go. All right, here's a look at what's coming up at 5 here on CBS 5.
Watching Alaska's weather source.
All right, can I get a high five from you right here because it's Friday, and high five because we got some snow going to Joe. There you go. Boom. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we've got more in the way of some light snow there, Dave, and we'll continue as
everything's
we head
pretty
on. And we kind of refreshed the snow globe. The winter wonderland definitely whitened up some of those snow piles for Wednesday and Thursday, Dave. Temperatures still remaining above normal, so February starting off how January was, rather warm. So.
All right. Well, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. So nice weather.
Yeah, but get the snow shovel.
All right. Pulling back the curtain on today's Weather Lab, Melissa gives a tour and students explore behind the scenes right here at our studios.
Look this way, right here.
News source.
It's Friday, Joe, and you know what time it is. Hello, it's this week's Weather Lab. And instead of Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry bringing the science lessons to the classroom, the students came to the Weather Lab right here in our studios.
This is the control room. This is where all the magic happens.
Amazon Fire, Roku, or Apple TV. just add the Alaska's News Source channel to your screen. I don't know if she told them not to wear green that day, because that's always an interesting experiment with the kids to see what happens when they wear.
Well, the old greens, they disappear.
Yes,
You're a
they do.
floating head or something like that. That one kid screaming, that was hilarious. All right, a group of civilians is planning to go to space this spring. Some of them have already been in orbit. And as Tom Costello reports, right now they're training for their big mission.
It's my...
Yeah, that's cool, right? And you know what's funny, Joe, as I see this stuff, our astronauts today look more like movie astronauts than our real astronauts, because the suits are really thin, they're streamlined, it doesn't look real.
All the technology is incredible and how it's changed.
Yeah, good stuff, fun stuff. All right, looking back on a half a century of music, switching gears, the Grammy takes a deep dive into hip-hop, the artist who will celebrate coming up this Sunday.
And coming up on the All Good News, running marathons on all continents. The young British explorer that chose Alaska for his North American leg. Where he ran and why. All Good News is next.
Hitting a milestone, a World War II vet from New York gets a party.
I don't see why I deserve it. All I did was get older. That's all.
The celebration for his 100th birthday and his secret to longevity. That's a little counterintuitive. And Joe, he's in the Weather Center with our statewide Friday forecast. Thanks for watching, everybody. And the South, they're not out of the woods yet. They could still see freezing temperatures this weekend. Joe's in the Weather Center with more on that lower 48 forecast. And Joe, you know, those temperatures down there are making us feel like we're, you know, Florida or something.
Balmy, right? Almost beach weather,
Yeah.
but maybe not quite like that.
I'm Dave Allgood with Alaska's News Source, and...
I'm Looey Alexander, a British explorer currently running the 7 continents for Alzheimer's Research UK.
And he chose the Wildlife Center to run one of those marathons. We'll have that story coming up next on Alaska's News Source.
Young British explorer Louis Alexander has already run 17 marathons in 17 days.
That's incredible. He was here in Alaska earlier this week at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center.
Yeah, why he's running and what he's running for, let's just say it hits home.
In the world of running, they say pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
The truth is, running doesn't get easier.
No.
It never does. But you do get more used to putting up with it. Now I'm in a position where I'm running 7 marathons in 7 continents, all the way from Africa to Antarctica. Here today for the North American chapter at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center.
You heard him right. 23-year-old British explorer Louis Alexander is running 7 marathons on 7 continents. He's already conquered Africa, seen here running in the Agafay Desert back in October, and here in the Wadi Rum Desert of Asia in December. But on this January day in 2023, it's North America and animals on the icy grounds of the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center.
But it's going to be the ice on the ground, which is going to be far more of a challenge today than I originally expected.
So with little fanfare and just a steely-eyed gaze of a lone wolf to see him off, Louis began his 26.2-mile journey around the Wildlife Center.
I think it's very rare to find your purpose in life, let alone at such a young age. So that's why I'm so motivated by this life now.
But sometimes it's the why you're running that's the comfort you find in the isolating and grueling hours of a marathon.
My grandfather was Captain Eric Taylor. He served in the British Army for 38 years. It was sadly his battle against dementia, which took his life after 17 years of suffering.
So this suffering and running under the watchful eye of moose and muskox is nothing compared to the suffering Louis witnessed as his grandfather succumbed to dementia. I ran a few of the 16 laps around the Wildlife Center with Louis.
Running surrounded by wildlife, this is pretty special. And if you need a motivation to run a marathon, like, this is pretty spot on.
And whether it was the amazing brown bears or these uniquely American wood bison, there was a method to Louis' marathon madness.
I chose the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center because from looking online, it looked like it was an incredible place which did some incredible work. And conservation is very important to me.
So on this day, the fog was thick and the sky was gray.
Do you think your grandfather's looking down on you?
I hope so. I hope so.
So through the mist, a marathon is done, North America completed, and now a step closer to his goal.
Good job.
Oh, and Louis' marathon suffering?
This is for you. Every step is for you, Granddad. It always has been, and it always will be until the day we beat this cruel illness.
Louis Alexander, he's the All Good News.
Yeah, great guy. Looey is just 23, and he says he never really knew his grandfather without dementia, but the one thing he does remember his grandfather would always say was to smile, just smile. Oh, and as of January 2023, there were 407 members, 306 men, and 101 women in the 7 Continents Marathon Club, which is an exclusive club.
Of course it is. It sounds really, really interesting and cool.
Yeah.
For more on Louis Alexander's and his quest to run on all continents to find a cure for dementia, just head to our website, alaskasnewssource.com. The story will be in the Allgood News section.
All right. Here's Nora O'Donnell with what they're covering tonight on 5 on the CBS Evening News.
Coming up right here on the scene.
Yeah. So, but snow, you know, and that's good for a lot of people.
It's the season, yeah. Right.
Yep.
Keep the ski slopes happy.
Yep. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
They're making a difference. A pair of Oklahoma women who are giving people who experience homelessness a place to stay and a little security about his predicament. All right, switching gears here. It looks like a necklace guitar. You wear it like a necklace, but you play it like a drum. A new instrument that is more than meets the eye. That's up next on CBS 5 at 4. Happy Friday, everybody. Well, looks can be misleading. It appears to be a modified guitar, but as Rick Damigella explains it, it's actually a drum.
Feeling the rhythm in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
Who knew? You know, the walkabout is played by percussionists in Pink's backing band and by contemporary Christian music group We the Kingdom. So there you go. Earlier this week, we talked about a shape-shifting robot. Well, here's another one. Meet Art. That stands for Amphibious Robotic Turtle, but he's more than a turtle. He's a tortoise as well. His legs turn into flippers. The clever design lets the robot get around in complex underwater environments, giving Art a distinct advantage for a range of scientific and industrial applications. He was developed by scientists at Yale University.
I think it can really help in jobs like environmental monitoring, for example, of an estuary system where the robot would have to go between patches of land and patches of water and transition back and forth to survey and take data. Another potential use case is, for example, support of divers, so the robot could transport materials or tools from the land to a submerged job site where divers are working.
Yeah, it's not just the shape of the limbs. The limbs also have muscles that mimic the gait of the creatures, making a distinction on how they move on land or in water. And more robot news. You may soon be entertained by a robot. BuzzFeed will use artificial intelligence to create content for its sites. The AI will make quizzes, brainstorm, but not write stories. The Associated Press began using artificial intelligence to automate news stories nearly a decade ago. Ignoring the signs and paying the price. A sinkhole in California is attracting a lot of cars. Plus, Joe, he'll have another look at your Friday forecast. Thanks for watching CBS 5 at 4. We'll be right back. It's Friday. A dangerous, deadly device falls off the back of a truck, Joe.
And signs aren't protecting some drivers in California. Here's Jeremy Roth with today's Take a Look at This.
For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
The late night guys were having they were having a feed fest with that. Yeah, because it was this big and 400 miles. They were trying to find. They found it though, which is kind of cool. So.
And there's no excuse for the hole, really.
Yeah. This is why people driving. They were driving into the hole.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you certainly don't want to be doing that this weekend, as we'll continue to see areas of light snow continuing for both